And the first quarter of the 2022-2023 financial year showing a decrease in sexual offences. There were over 9,500 rape cases which were opened between April and June this year. Now, while rape cases declined in other provinces, the Northwest and the Northern Cape are the only provinces to report increases. Now, let's look at crime stats in greater detail with UKZN Criminologist Professor Nirmala Gopal. Thank you so much, Prof, for your time this afternoon. I mean, a decrease in sexual offences that we are seeing. Your reaction?
Well, good afternoon to you and good afternoon to your listeners. Of course, it's very welcome to see a decrease in sexual offences, for crime in general. But I think what is important is for us to look at the holistic picture.
And you look at provinces like the Northwest and the Northern Cape recording an increase in rape cases. What should this be telling us about what is going on in these provinces?
I think a good indicator, it points to possibly an increase or decrease, should I say, in policing activity maybe in the province. It's possibly a decrease in visible policing. It's possibly an increase or a brevity amongst men in terms of how women are treated. It could be a cultural issue. And when I say cultural, I mean the mindset of the men who perpetrate sexual offences in these particular provinces.
And the minister, Prof, says that, as the ministry, we maintain that policing is not at police stations, but policing is on the streets where crimes are likely to be prevented. And of course, he was talking about visibility. And you talk about how in these two provinces, we may be seeing a decrease in that. But how possible is it going for the police going to be able to do, especially when you look at the number of officers that are even in the system available to even be able to assist these residents? You see detectives sitting with over 100 dockets each.
So I think the important thing is that it's not just, the important thing for us to understand as a community and as a country is that policing, and when I say policing, I'm speaking about policing as taking it in terms of outside of the policing structure itself. So the kind of policing, both formal and informal, is actually the responsibility of communities. It's the responsibility of the South African Police Services. It's the responsibility of people, schools. It's the responsibility of tertiary education institutions. But when the minister says that it's not just about police sitting at the police stations, but rather taking them onto the street, I think there has to be a relationship, a partnership between the public and the private. Because unless that partnership is very strong and very established, I think it's going to be very, very difficult for us to actually reduce crimes such as contact crimes, violent crimes, sexual offences. So that partnership is extremely important.
Especially because even the minister admits in his statement that it's going to be important that police strengthen their work with communities. Let's look at the murder rate. I mean, it's increased as compared to the same period last year. Now, this is often stubbornly high. And I wonder, where are the police falling short in their efforts when it comes to reducing these numbers?
Again, I think, when I had a look at the murder rates and I see that it's it's still high in comparison to the other crimes where the police claim have actually shown a reduction. And I was a little bit skeptical because I'm thinking with murder rates, it's very unlikely that you can present statistics that are skewed in any way. Yes, there could be a margin of error, but in most the probability is that the margin of error is very slight. So because of the exact science in terms of reporting on murder, which of course is also very high, and I think it's telling us something about our policing, I'm not sure exactly what it is telling us, but it definitely is telling us a story. However, it makes one wonder about the reduction in the other categories of crime. Are we sure that those numbers are actually accurate, or are we presenting statistics that make us believe that there's a reduction? So I think that's an important conversation to have with the Ministry of Policing.
And so listening then to you, Prof, is that it may be that some of these numbers that we are being presented with may not necessarily be a true reflection of the crime statistics as things stand right now.
I think absolutely. You know, South Africa has had a history of crime statistics that are not 100% credible, or maybe even not 90% credible. We've seen a gradual improvement in terms of the crime statistics, but we are also aware of the realities in terms of the capacity at police stations, etc., for crimes to be recorded accurately, reported accurately, etc. So I think, yes, there's always a bit of skepticism in terms of whether those statistics are whether we should take them at face value, really.
All right, Prof, thank you so much for your thoughts and your inputs this afternoon as we really look at what is behind some of the numbers that we're seeing. I mean, if we're seeing 2 provinces that are recording an increase in rape cases, certainly we worry, because, I mean, this means that there must be a concerted effort as well in some of these, provinces to ensure that what is said in the upper echelons actually translates to what we're seeing on the ground. That was UKZN Criminologist, Prof Nirmala Gopal.